There hasn't been a military parade in America since 1991.
Oh, shit.
Which is crazy. It was to celebrate the end of the Gulf War. And President Bush, first Bush, was in office. Yeah, it was badass.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time. A long time. So I was reading that, like, they have, they're covering the streets with plates in certain areas where the tanks have to turn and all the armored vehicles have to turn tightly.
And that's like a big thing I kept seeing is like, they're like, how are they going to actually get tanks out there? Going to destroy the shitty streets in DC? But that makes sense now to cover up with what metal plates. Is that what they did in the 90s?
No, in the 90s, I didn't see any. I think they said, screw it. But Trump tried to do this in his first term. And the excuse they gave him was like, no, because they're going to destroy the streets. So they put the tanks have the tracks, and they put these like rubber things on the tracks so that it wouldn't hurt the concrete so much, the asphalt so much.
Yeah.
But it was bad. He had the B-52s flying. He had all the stealth bombers, the A-10 Warthogs. He had the F-16s.
I don't know why so many people are so worried about the optics for that, really. To me, it's like, I feel like we were before this administration took over, like at all-time lows when it came down to like military recruitment, pride in your country. And it's like the best way to really get that backflow and like make young people excited about the military or to show like just to have good patriotism in our country, have a military parade.
Yep.
Right. And I love how the Democrats are like, well, only dictators do it. Although President Trump and JD Vance were just in France not too long.
Yeah, so France is dictators.
Yeah, right. They
really
constantly tell us we got to be more liberal like France, but hey, actually they're dictators because look at these military parades. The hypocrisy there. That's going to be a crazy day, and it's going to be pretty cool that we're up there.
Yeah.
Documenting history. What did you say? It was like only 6 military parades?
Yeah, there was a Grand Review of the Armies in 1865. 150,000 Union soldiers marched down Pennsylvania Avenue over 2 days. It's pretty crazy. It's a lot of people. I think they're only using like 8,000 for this one or so. Then they had World War I Victory Parade, World War II Parade, the Cold War Parade in the 50s, the Gulf War Parade in 1991, and there's been nothing since.
What did you send me last night also? You were like, how are they going to finish off?
Oh, so they're going to have the jump men, so the parachute team from the Army, I believe, jump over the White House, literally land right by President Trump as a finisher. And check this out, they're going to have time periods. So they're going to have different sections of soldiers dressed like each period of war throughout the U.S. history. So you're going to have soldiers. So you're going to have like basically soldiers coming out in their World War I like fatigues and the outfits they wore. And as they're crossing the president, all of the planes that they use in World War I are going to be flying across President Trump at the same time as the soldiers dressed like that time period are going to be.
Sick.
So they're going to do World War I, World War II.
So cool. Because the idea of this military parade is that's commemorating the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army essentially existing. Yeah. Which is just so happened to be on President Trump's birthday.
Perfect timing.
And it kind of leads us into like, in 3 weeks after that, it'll be July 4th, making the 250th anniversary, the year of which, year of celebration. What is the other plan too for the 250th anniversary? Not of the military, of the country.
Well, he said he wanted to have a 1-year fair.
Fair, that's what it was.
Somewhere in Iowa, Wyoming area.
Iowa would make sense because that's like the Iowa State Fair is like the most recognized in the country. So that'd be, see, this is what we need, right? Like you don't
need fun. You need to reinstill Americanism. Have fun. Do cool shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I didn't really get to experience that, like the stuff that I think the previous generations got to experience in America, like 1980s, 70s, 1990s even, right? That's what I'm really excited about. It's like the rebirth of the greatest time in America, especially after we've been led to such like divisive and dark places. I hope that we can all agree at the end of the day that we need patriotism, and that's a good way to show it.
Yeah, it's like when you go to the gym for a long time, and if you went to the gym, you got super fit, but you only wore sweaters, and you never, this is what bodybuilders do, actually professional ones. They don't want to show their competition their hand until it's competition time. So you won't really see videos of them, how they look like a month up to the competition, because the opposition's looking at them like, okay, look at their triceps. They're better. We got to work on this next month. So they don't want to show you the finished product. So I feel like this is kind of like that, where the military is like, hey, every 30 years or so, you get to see what we really have. Some of the stuff we really have. You get to flex those biceps.
Well, that makes sense. And you told me something interesting, that in the 90s, in the last military parade they were already ushering out a military drone.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see the technology that they have now. Like you said, 30 years of us like not really knowing what's going on, right?
Not knowing what the hell is happening.
Imagine they have some crazy technology and they showcase it, right? To also kind of show China, like, look, you don't really want to mess around with this. We know you guys have this mothership that's going to be flying, that's able to launch like 500 drones and then bring those drones back. And that's sketch, but wait till you guys see what we have, hopefully. I don't know.
Well, it's going to be interesting because no one really knows what we have. Not even probably the president. Yeah, I would assume. True. So if the president doesn't know, China has to not know what we have. I know they hack into stuff, but if you show some crazy shit that they're like, we don't even know what that is. We don't have any data on that. We don't know what that is, but it looks crazy. That was starting to instilling fear in people like China, who think, well, maybe America is not as caught up as we think they are. And now we have the drone ships and things like that.
Imagine they remember that whole thing with the drones in New Jersey, and everybody was like, what the hell is going on there? Maybe they were just testing stuff out for the military parade that they would have.
Yeah, that's what was it Eric Adams or Chris Christie or someone who's an official said, oh, those are military drones.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it should be interesting to also go to DC and see the scene of last night, essentially.
Yeah, that's a game changer.
That's a game changer. We were sitting last night and we were both kind of like, I can't really remember, besides the Luigi thing, something like this happening in America, right? I mean, this is really taking up a notch. And
yeah, this is going back to like the 1960s civil rights movement. People were, being assassinated.
Yeah,
like out in the open.
Yeah, it's
assassinations. They really haven't been a thing for quite a while.
Yeah.
And it was the liberals doing it last time, or the leftists doing it last time, and it's a leftist doing it again.
Yeah.
So like they say, the right is a party of, destruction and extremism, and then it's the left that's been doing this shit for, of course you got the KKK and stuff like that, but that's, that was a massive group of people, and then they shut them down. So I'm going to be curious to see what they do with Antifa. I posted on my Instagram yesterday that I think they're going to get hella FISA warrants and just be like, all right, guys, it's time, shut it down.
I'm telling you, this is like my conspiracy hat on, but I really do feel like in all of these radical, especially political organizations, there are FBI plans who are just massive surveillance, mass collection of who are these individuals. So when something like this happens, they don't need to start the surveillance operation. They just go to the FISA courts and say, look at all this information that we have, and now we want to have, unprecedented
tap the
access.
shit out of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was a undercover federal agent who went on Joe Rogan. He's been on a lot of podcasts, has a book. I forget his name, but he was implanted with a lot of the Hells Angels type characters, right? And he would go in, hang out at a bar. He was a big white dude, like 6-something, played football, all tatted up, so he looked the part. And he would just hang out at the bar and just crack jokes, kind of loud, so that he knew when the biker gang was going to come in. So he'd be there just showing face, chatting, and they took him in multiple times, and they got all the intel with him, and he completely shut him down. So I'm sure they have many people like that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I know this is a little off topic, but imagine that something like this is going on in these organizations where an individual that is a FBI agent is actually part of their organization and is kind of leaking information to that organization from the intelligence community.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you went, how we went the undercover the other day, well, you went undercover, I went more as just like a YouTube fuckboy, but they invited you in. They showed you all their stuff.
They sure did.
You recorded them. So imagine if you would actually get into the organization, do the same thing the feds are doing, So it's, of course, easier for them to do it.
Absolutely, 100%. I don't know. And then sometimes you look at maybe some of these claims are valid, that the leaders of these organizations are, FBI informants or whatever it is, but they're there not because the entire organization are FBI informants. They're there to infiltrate it, to gather this information about them, whether it's the far right, far left, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing with yesterday's assassination, or actually before that, I think it's the continuation of that 86-47 culture. I forgot who it was from the New York Post, but she did a great kind of expose of the entire assassination culture that's going on right now. You're absolutely right. After the 60s, we kind of didn't see this culture anymore. They kind of realized political violence wasn't the tool in order to change policy or get whatever across, but something changed in the last 10 years, especially with the divisive politics being introduced to us, is that they did adapt this new 86-47 culture, which is basically saying, like, let's go take out the president of the United States. It was always revolved around President Trump. And now you kind of see the byproduct of that the means justify the ends here, right? That in the name of revolution, in the name of Palestine, they will go and commit something as atrocious as that individual did yesterday. And it's interesting because it's a radical left organization that wants to liberate this country from capitalism and imperialism, capitalizing on the pro-Palestine movement, sucking these people in together. And now you have a really bad combination. You have very emotionally charged individuals who really want to bring in a drastic change, and they understand that peaceful protests won't do it anymore, so they would take things into their own hands and do what they did last night.
What a lot of people don't realize about the left is that it's not just, we call it the left, but there's so many subdivisions of it, just like people scapegoat the right and they lump us all into this extreme, weird, anti-Jewish, Nazi crap. But the left, when we're talking about socialists, you have two very distinct parties. You have the Fabian socialists, which just sucks. I share the name with them, and they're out of England. So they're socialists that believe that they don't want revolution. What they want is a slow, gradual change into socialism without firing a shot, to kind of stay under the radar and build up your political capital and take over industries from the inside slowly. Then you have the Leninist type socialists, which are all revolution, the Mao type, like we need revolution, we need to kill people, we need to have a violent takeover, and they're at odds with each other. So I think what happened is after the 60s, after a lot of these big groups got shut down by the FBI, etc., turned to, Fabian socialists were the ones that were kind of leading the charge. And George Soros' tactics are very Fabian. Like, he gets some money, he slowly goes in, buys district attorney, with their race, he funds their races. And I think that got to a point where they're like, okay, well, what's next? Or, hey, that's not working as fast as we want it. We need to accelerate. We need accelerationism. So you have all the crazy revolutionary leftists now starting to take over.
And like you perfectly said, without having to shoot a single bullet, right? I think that's the key thing about the revolution that's different from previous violent revolutions, is I think that the people that want to see this revolutions happen, which are the globalists, they are the ones who really want these drastic changes to come in, because every time we've seen a revolution happen, the power becomes so centralized within a certain group of people, elites, in this case it'll be globalists, that it's kind of like pushing their agenda for them without having to do really anything, right? They're just watching one domino drop after another. They seeing the left calling for this through these crazy, like the Party for Socialism and Liberation, or Liberation and Socialism and Liberation. But then you start to see that on the far right as well, with this critique of liberalism.
Like a bunch of copycats, a bunch of copycats.
Copycats.
Hey, it's working for them. Let's do the same thing.
Yeah. And on both sides, through the horseshoe theory, is that they're all ushering the same exact thing. They're all wanting drastic changes in our country today that are all pushing us towards one thing.
Everybody wants to rule the world.
Everybody does. Everybody does.
There's a song about that.
What is it? Wait, which one? Put Fabian on the spot here.
It's called Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. Oh, that's a great song. Yeah, these leftists are getting out of control.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
What else can you really do?
Yeah, I watched an hour and 57 minutes of this 2 hour and 4 video on the National Victory Celebration Parade, Operation Desert Storm 1991.
I'm like really excited about this. I'm a geek of aviation stuff, so I love like plane shows or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
But I've never really seen like military, like besides the Air Force bases.
Have you been to like an air show?
I've been to well, it didn't include like military grade airplanes. It was just
like commercial.
It was commercial, and it was
Hobby,
mainly showing off how they do these crazy
the
tricks.
rolls and all that.
Exactly, like Stalin and all that stuff, right? But like actual like military airplanes, I think I've only seen them when like vacationing next to an Air Force base in Florida. That's a common thing. My sister lives pretty close to an Air Force base here, but you see the common transport airplanes. You don't really see like the B-52 bombers, right?
When you see a B-52 flying, you're like, holy shit, that's a, you see the stealth bomber, like,
you know what they say is that if you saw the stealth bomber, you weren't its target.
Yeah. There's a military base down in San Diego, a very, very big one. And my ex lives there, so we were always down there. And right by the dog beach in San Diego, it's a very popular space. Like 20 feet to your right is like the base, right? And it's all closed off. But they have Harrier jets that take off and they do training there. So you can constantly see, they're right above you, the Harrier jets that just raise up, and then, they turn their engines and then they just go.
Whoa.
It is incredible.
Well, I really hope we get to see some of that during the military
It's really cool. Yeah, they're going to have P-51 Mustangs, B-25 Mitchell bombers. They're going to have the H-1 Huey, the Cobra, the Apache, the Chinook, 50 helicopters. That's going to be great.
I like the liberal media that they asked him, I think, how much is this going to cost? You guys suddenly care about fiscal responsibility? Like, what are you talking about? And I'm sure it's going to be a pretty penny, like 20, 30 million is the estimated cost of this, but the return that you will get from this?
Hey, no, this is perfect because we just cut, 10 million for like circumcision in Mozambique or whatever the hell it was, right? There you go.
Beautiful, right?
Better use of the money.
And see, that's actually in the interest of the United States. The Mozambique stuff, whatever that country is called, like, how is that in the interest of America whatsoever? And
yeah. It's all the Jews' fault, David. The Jews did something.
Yeah. Like you said, I don't know. With Jews literally doing everything, I don't know how I have time to sit here and even talk to you for 15, 20 minutes like this. Yeah. But it's beautiful.
But yeah, the assassination thing is wild. It's gonna change things now, because now you can really label certain organizations terrorist organizations. It's found that guy, whatever the hell his name is,
Elias Rodriguez.
Yeah, if other people knew he was going to do it in the organization, then they can classify that as a terrorist organization, shut it down.
There's a lot of stuff. He did leave a manifesto. These organizations do chant nonstop, Intifada is the only solution. As someone that's lived through Intifada, it's scary to me through the second wave. Walking outside and not really being able to know if you're going to get bombed into pieces because you walk into a pizza store is the stuff that these organizations are chanting that needs to come back as the only solution to, I don't know really what it is, to liberate Palestine from Israel, to liberate whatever here in America from American imperialism. But we see that this chants aren't just chants, they're starting to take it literally, because yesterday was the first example of a true intifada where Jews, they wouldn't even know if they're Jews, right? He just guessed that they're Jews because they were at a Jewish event. What if they weren't? What if they were Christians? Right? And that's the problem at the end of the day, is that nobody is now safe on the streets, and that was the whole idea of Intifada. And the problem is that when you open up the comments section on TikTok for like the Daily Mail reporting about this, all the leftists are, yes, this is our hero. The same stuff that they did with Luigi. And that's the scary thing. They're justifying the means because the end makes sense.
Well, it makes sense if you're a death cult, which is what it is, and you believe things like the more disabled you are, the higher on the oppression wheel you are. The fact that we should euthanize people who aren't useful to society anymore. Literally Nazis did this
Right.
stuff. Literally Nazis did the exact same thing. But instead of them forcing upon people, they're doing it willingly because they say, well, I don't want to be extra carbon on the earth, and or we don't want people who are not useful to society anymore, which is literally a death cult. And then you have people who are searching for meaning. They're lost in life. They're on tons of SSRIs, tons of pills, no direction in life. They found this cult, and now the top echelon of this cult is to become a martyr for your cause, which is the same thing the terrorists do. The exact same thing. So now all these people with no purpose in life, probably no job, they're like, what's the highest I can get to in a suppression ladder, in a suppression pyramid? Oh, I kill someone and then everyone knows my name.
Exactly.
So I get fame, I get legacy, and I get everyone to read my little manifesto.
Absolutely. It's a glorification of Luigi, right? And like you're saying, they see, like, they prompted him up on this pedestal as, look at this hero. Finally, somebody did something about the healthcare related issue that we have in the United States. Well, why shouldn't that apply to every single thing for these useful idiots, right? Somebody sees a pro-Palestinian cause, says, hey, what's a great way that I can make a name for myself? Well, they keep telling me that Intifada is the solution. How about I go ahead and start that? And they go and actually do that. And that's the scary thing, is that I don't understand whatsoever, but there's a big difference between thinking about it and then actually going and doing it. And the radicalization, well, that's what needs to be studied. What radicalizes an individual from having those thoughts to actually committing that action like that individual did last night?
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting seeing where things go from here. By the way, I keep getting about 10 to 15 Coinbase spam notifications from people acting like they're Coinbase. Coinbase, we noticed a new login from Paris, France. If this wasn't you, reach out to support immediately. And it gives me a number. Like, I get 10 of these a day, and I'm sure tons of other people will get the same.
Better be quick, Fabian. Make sure they don't start hacking you.
Well, as soon as Bitcoin started going up, that's when a lot of people were getting these texts. I think Coinbase just had like 20 million stolen from them, and then they were able to access certain customer data. Then they were holding the rest ransom, and they're like, screw it, keep the 20 million. We're going to reimburse the person that they took it from, or the people they took it from, and just fix the code. So they were like, we're not playing ball.
I like that. We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
Although I feel like America's starting to do that.
Yeah.
And we should probably not do that, because at that point, terrorists will figure out, hey, all we have to do is hide behind civilians, kidnap a couple hostages, and we can really do whatever we want.
Yeah. Spend a bunch of money, offer them a plane, and then say, oh, okay, let's work together. I'll change my ways. It's literally like an abusive boyfriend. He does the abusing, and then he's like, okay, let's talk about
honey.
it. Yeah. No, don't leave. We'll fix things. It's called the cycle of abuse, actually, where there's like a big incident that happens, right? And then there's like the cooling off period. Then I forget exactly what it's called, but it's like the reunification period, where you say things are going to get better. Things are better for a little while. They escalate. And then it goes to the climax where there's an incident. And it goes all over again. And every time the incident gets more aggressive, more violent, and more violent. So literally, it's called the cycle of abuse.
Wow.
So that's what I feel like we're in with Qatar right now.
It definitely is, right?
They did a bunch of shit. They gave us a plane. Now things are a little calm. They gave us a little bit of money.
As long as they don't use, I mean, like, they gave us a plane, right? But then we are giving them, what, like 60 planes, 160 planes back? It's like, not back, but manufacturing 160 brand new planes. I just don't want one of those planes to end up in Hamas's hands and then somehow end up in a skyscraper in America.
Yeah.
And then the whole cycle, right? You were talking about like a yearly, 2 year. Then the whole cycle of 25 years restarts. We go back to 9/11 and we invade some countries because of 9/11. Oh,
it's all a charade, baby.
It's all a charade.
All these top conservative influencers, I'd say like the vast majority of them are all bought and paid for by somebody.
Oh, 100%.
And it's just masquerading as a... Actually, I commented on dumbass Candace Owens' post today. I said, your brain is completely fried. I said, but hey, I'm sure you're making a lot of money doing it.
How stupid do you have to be to actually go to Jerusalem? You have a guide. The guide is explaining to you, this is the Muslim quartile, this is the Jewish quartile, this is the Christian quartile, this is the Christian Armenian quartile. And then you come back, you understand that, you love Israel for years after that, and then you end up on a podcast telling somebody that you've seen apartheid with your own eyes because there's a Muslim quartile in the old city in Jerusalem. But any person knows that's been there and gone through the tour that it doesn't mean that only Muslims can live here, that they can't go live in the Jewish quartile. No, it's just the old city is separated into 4 different holy regions, of which, you know, some places have mosques, some places have churches, some places have synagogues, some places have the holy sites of Jesus Christ, some have holy sites of whatever, right? It's just a mix of all religions, and to better identify where those sections are, they split it into quartiles. The most beautiful picture I've ever taken in Israel walking through the holy city was in the Jewish quartile, and it was every single religion there. You could see in one picture every single religion roaming through the streets peacefully without a single issue. That makes me believe that you have to be paid to say these kind of ridiculous stuff, right? But now the question comes, who? Right, we saw that expose with Qatar paying Tucker. Indirectly, we don't know if Tucker himself took money, but the issue
somebody
is...
made money off it.
Somebody made money, right?
And if he's not making money from guests coming on his show, then he's a very dumb businessman, which I don't think he is. So that leads me to believe that he got some edification from that money.
Sometimes I also think you may not even need to keep being paid by somebody. The social media paying you is already enough to make you say, I'm going to prioritize viewership over objective truth. And that's what you see with the Candaces and the Elijah Schaefers and the Ian Carrolls and the Dave Smiths, right? They aren't necessarily probably getting paid by a foreign government. Maybe some are, but they are getting paid from social media. And if there's a huge demand for that kind of rhetoric, they're like, I'm going to supply that and make money off that. That's a grift as well.
Look at Theo Vaughn. I don't get this at all. The dude, Trump brought him out to do comedy for the troops. He comes back, or he was in Qatar, met with I don't know if he met with the Emir or somebody. All of a sudden comes back. Oh, and he was wearing the little gimmick outfits they wear, the little desert outfits, whatever the hell they're called. Comes back, and then he starts crying on camera about the people in Gaza. Like, what the fuck? Dude.
That's crazy.
What?
It just shows
all of a sudden you're like, hey guys, film me. Because he didn't just pick up a camera.
Yeah.
He didn't just do it in his house. He went on set. He told his producer what he was going to do. And he told him, keep the camera on me. And he had to make himself cry. And looked into the camera and had this heartfelt thing inside of a studio. That's what people don't understand. It's not like he just did this in his house. He was like, oh guys, I feel really strongly. He went to his studio, set time apart, told his producer, hey, I'm going to talk about Gaza. And so he planned this.
And that's how we know it's BS. Or that he's just very, very stupid and is prone to propaganda, right? Because like you said, he went to this Qatar trip, came back, is now suddenly crying on camera. That's an interesting aspect, Fabian, that nobody really, I think, thinks about when they see this stuff. It's not like you caught him off guard and he's crying or something like that. No, he came to the studio. The producer knew that it's going to happen. They're going to pin him on the moment. It's all very well orchestrated.
Yeah. You know who does a really good job at this is Snoop Dogg, right? He does the best job I've ever seen. Because the guy's been in entertainment for 30 years or something like that. He knows everything. He understands how to look at cameras. He knows the whole game. But he still acts like a cool outsider, right? When you think about Snoop Dogg, oh, he's cool, right? Why? Why is he cool? Why is he an outsider? He's not. If you see him on he does T-Mobile commercials, he does all this. Those are multi-day shoots. Hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars for every single commercial. He doesn't just go there and read lines and go home. No, there's a pre-production meeting. He has to meet with the producers, the director. They got to map out what he's going to say, how he's going to do it. They got to do the makeup, costume, right? Or makeup, wardrobe. He goes and they keep filming. When he goes on NFL or anything, he knows exactly where the cameras are at. He knows when the commercial breaks are coming. Dude, he is not an outsider. He is as much as an insider you can get, acting like an outsider, and people don't even understand that.
Yeah. To me, it's okay, I feel bad for the Gazans that are dying in Gaza. Don't get me wrong. It's human life, right? But you have to understand the situation that is happening. Why are you going to blame the United States? Why are you going to blame Israel for any of this stuff? This might be a little back noise here.
It should be fine.
Yeah. But why you, if you actually cared enough to cry about the situation in Gaza, to me, it seems like you did your research and you understood why are civilians dying in Gaza. Why are Hamas militants wearing civilian uniform? They don't fight in military uniform. They say we don't have military uniform, but anytime they have a parade, they show they have it. They're idiots. Why are they storing all their ammunitions in refugee camps? Why are they building their headquarters under hospitals? And people like Theo Von, probably from the Qataris, was like, the Qataris probably told him, no, this is all, talking points by Israel.
Yeah.
But no, the evidence is there. You know what there's no evidence for? The BS claims from Theo Von that Israel every day wakes up and says, you know what? I just feel like killing civilians. So we're going to go drop a bunch of bombs on civilians, knowing that we rely on foreign aid, we rely on international support. And every time we do this, we lose on our PR battle, but we're going to do this every single day. It's the stupidest thing in the world. Sorry to keep going, but this is the dumbest thing.
Yeah.
If Israel wanted to commit a genocide, they would have committed a genocide on day one of after October 7th. It would have not been 30 or 40, whatever the Hamas numbers is reported. It would have been 400,000 or 500,000. It would have been 600,000 in 6 months, like Bashar Assad did in Syria's civil war. That's just the truth right there.
Yeah, it's all about who's making money off it.
Yeah.
Who's making money off it? I know who's making money off it. The same people that are going to rebuild Ukraine are for sure going to get the contract to rebuild Gaza, and that's going to be BlackRock.
Yeah.
That's going to be BlackRock.
We were kind of laughing about this, and that they're going to green light Israel into doing this again in 15 years. So they it's just a
rebuild.
cycle, just over and over and over again.
I mean, who profited the most after any city is destroyed? The big builders, baby.
Builders.
Back in, it used to be Blackwater. During the Afghanistan war, they were the ones who supplied all the meals, a lot of the heavy machinery for the army to, and now it's BlackRock. So Blackwater and BlackRock. Why do they always have black in their name? That's kind of weird.
Something about this black pyramid, but that's a different conspiracy theory that we may have to explore later.
And what's crazy is the vice president, what's his face, Donald Rumsfeld, I believe he was on the board of Blackwater. Like literally on the board.
No. I think, you might be right. I just remember that Dick Cheney,
I'm sorry.
Okay, so it's Dick Cheney, right?
Dick Cheney, I'm sorry. Donald Rumsfeld was the secretary.
He was a board member on one of those big defense contractor companies.
Halliburton.
There you go. And he was the one that was issuing the contracts to that company for the Iraq War.
Yep.
That's corruption.
Then he shot a guy in the face with a shotgun hunting.
And you can't forget his daughter then went on to endorse Kamala Harris and campaign with Kamala Harris. And that meant Democrats suddenly endorsed the Cheneys.
Yep.
Look at that.
Neocons are like, hey, we're not working anymore on the right. Let's go to the left.
Right. You have to really think about that one. What was Kamala or the Democrat Party aiming to do there? There's no Democrats that I think the Cheneys appeal to. So what were they going to do? Try to get some
they could brainwash them because now they do.
True.
That's all it was.
True. That's right.
Hey guys, we got one from their side, so now we got to adopt their policies because they're on our side.
No.
We got to integrate them with us.
That's great.
It's all a bunch of malarkey, if you ask me. All a bunch of malarkey.